Hello and welcome to the only podcast facing legal issues over our moon-themed frozen waffles because Star Wars has already worked with Diego Luna. I'm Luke.
I'm Max.
And I'm Matt.
And this is Force for Thought.
It's good, Luke.
The what? That one was...
Ego.
All right, maybe...
Diego Luna.
Diego.
It's a popular frozen waffle
okay.
company.
One,
All right,
yeah,
I got it.
One
I'm
of
there
many.
now. I'm there now. I had no idea. All right, hello and welcome back to Force for Thought. Today we are going through our Mandalorian rewatch. Today we are on Chapter 12, The Siege. If you've been following along, you'll know that we've been talking about this episode for at least a couple weeks now. I know we talked about it a lot last week because we were very excited to get to Ahsoka Tano and the Jedi, then being reminded that this episode was kind of wedged in the middle. So I'm kind of interested to see what your guys' thoughts were on rewatch. I would like to go first this time. Usually I'm a gracious host and invite other people's opinions first. But before anyone else says anything, I just want to say this episode was great. I loved this episode. I went into it kind of like, okay, this is like this season's filler episode. And it wasn't. It absolutely was important to the plot. It was about Moff Gideon and his return, which I didn't even realize that they still had to address that he was still alive at this point. It had to do with Project Necromancer. It had to do with the Dark Troopers. It brought in a lot of things that were actually very important plot points moving forward. Plus, we got a lot of really fun Imperial content. And I said on the last episode, too, that this episode has a lot of monsters, a lot of space pirates, but I'm really just here for the Empire. I think everything with the Empire is so much more captivating, and likewise, this episode was very captivating, even though it was still kind of a filler episode. For a filler episode, this was a great episode. Season 2's filler episodes have been phenomenal, because the second episode with the Frog Lady was also a filler episode. We all agree it was a filler episode, but we also all agree that was a phenomenal episode. And I put The Siege right up there with the Frog Lady episode. I like this one a lot. Matt, what did you think?
Maxwell. I totally agree. This is the one that we were all thinking we were not gonna like. From last week, we're like, oh, this is the episode with Greef Karga again, and I think when you start off with Mando teaching Grogu to do something and seeing him actually be like physical in the world was a blast. It dips a little bit for me up front, but then it's such a blast. And if anybody's been listening to this podcast as well, I hope you guys know this too, is that I love when people sneak around places. This is basically just in A New Hope when they're sneaking around the Death Star. And I feel like it's the same thing here, and it's fantastic. Like you said, Max, I mean, the Empire is like the true star here, but you get this sneaky little episode of this group coming together, and I know we talk about it being filler, but it also feels like a reward of these characters interacting. You know, we get... Gina Carano back, like I'm intermixing character.
Cara Dune.
And yeah, thank you. We get Cara Dune as well as the prisoner from the first episode of Mando,
Mythrol.
plus Greef Karga, plus Mandalorian or Din Djarin. Like, it's fun to see all of these pieces come back together for a little side mission. I think it's a blast. And then, like you said, it actually does fit into the bigger story. So and you know, we get to see Carson Tega, which is awesome. Lucas Taylor.
We did get good Carson Teva content.
Carson Teva. What did I just say?
Gina
I don't think I said that right the first time. Sorry.
Oh, I thought you said Carson Teva. Carson Teva? Teva?
Okay, sorry.
Tomato. I'm sure it's either way. Gina Carano, I do the same thing with her. I always go back and forth with just calling her Gina Carano or Cara Dune. The problem is, I feel like Gina Carano is just as much of a Star Wars name as Cara Dune. Like, someone's real name in real life could be Cara Dune, and like that's not unrealistic, you know?
Yeah.
So I always do the same things. I kind of like conflate the two. Luke, what did you think?
I feel very similarly to you guys. I was halfway through this episode, and I was like, oh my god, next week's the filler episode. This is the plot of the fucking show. What were we talking about? Last week didn't advance the plot. It's just the storylines are so distinct between Mando trying to return Grogu to the Jedi and the Imperial Remnant rising up to steal Grogu to do something, like those two plot lines haven't really converged yet this season, and they've just advanced each one independently, but each one needs to be advanced independently, and just because this one was advancing the Imperial one and not the Grogu one, it fell into memory as a filler episode, wrongly so. This was I completely agree, this was not a filler episode. It was surprisingly enjoyable. I thought I didn't like it for whatever reason. Again, if you listened to last week, our expectations for this week were rock bottom for the wrong reasons, apparently, because this is a good episode, but we were all three of us not looking forward to this episode at all. And yes, it was maybe a less than average episode of The Mandalorian, certainly a less than average episode of The Mandalorian Season 2, but the show is great. Like, every episode is pretty good at least, and so, yeah, it was a great time watching it.
Yeah. I mean,
That's how you know Season 2 of Mandalorian was peak Star Wars, because this is the only time that I feel like we have on this podcast agreed so much with Episode 2 and now Episode 4.
I know.
This is super exciting. I love it
I
when
agree.
we're all on the same page.
I was waiting, Luke. I was holding my breath because I knew how I was gonna go. Obviously, come into this, and then I was so excited that you two also agreed. 2 weeks in a row, and I'm waiting. I do like The Passenger significantly more than this episode, but not significantly. I'm looking at my list currently of all the episodes ranked, and it looks like it is. But in general, I like this. This episode was great. I think we also, the three of us, or at least Luke and I think we have Grief Karga bias when we see a thumbnail of him in it. We're like, oh fuck! But he actually walks around in this
totally
episode
do.
quite a bit, which is good.
You see, what's so interesting is I feel like The Heiress was such an important episode to Din Djarin's storyline, finding the Jedi, but also introducing Bo-Katan, who I absolutely love. And I love Bo-Katan in Season 3. I've said it before many times. I think she's like one of my favorite parts of Season 3. But I feel like The Heiress is becoming, so far of the 4 episodes, it might be my least favorite episode of the season so far.
It's mine too.
I mean, I really enjoyed The Siege, and I'm forgetting what episode 2 was called. Frog
The
Lady
Passenger.
episode. Passenger. They're fantastic episodes, even
Yeah.
though, I don't even want to call this episode filler for all the reasons we just said. But yeah, I mean, great content, and I think that just kind of speaks, I guess, better to the quality of Season 2, the fact that The Heiress is so far my least favorite of the 4. But
Guys,
I agree.
I'm
It would be
so
hard
excited
to
for Season 3.
It would be hard to think about it in a vacuum, because if we never got Season 3 with a full 8 episodes of mostly Bo-Katan content, maybe I would value The Heiress more if it was like closer to the only Bo-Katan content we had. But yeah, it's like one of the worst Bo-Katan episodes, because we get a ton in Season 3. If Cobb Vanth was the Mandalorian in Season 4, I'm sure Episode 1, The Marshal, or Season 2, Episode 1, The Marshal, would drop from one of my favorites to one of my least favorites, because the big thing is that's like the only Cobb Vanth content we have. So yeah, that's true. I feel the same way about The Heiress. It is rapidly dropping down my list as well.
that's a great point. I didn't even think about that, because I'm also such a big Clone Wars fan that, yeah, you're right. If that was like the only Bo-Katan content I got in live action, I'd probably be clinging on to it, but I'm not.
There's more to come. Significant more.
All right, well, speaking of more to come, let's talk about this episode a little bit. So, Matt, you kind of already hit on it, but it kind of starts with that fun little beat of Grogu and Mandalorian in the dilapidated Razor Crest trying to do some last-minute repairs. That's a great little beat, and it's actually pretty good foreshadowing, because it's like one of the only useful plot points that Grogu can have for a long time. It's just, he's small, he can go in small places.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had
Which,
I
spoiler
liked this
alert,
scene.
I think is going to come up in the movie as well, based on all the Anzellan's content we got in the trailer.
Yeah,
Mando
I would say
drinks
it's a
soup.
pretty good. Oh yeah, more soup content.
Lifts up his helmet to drink some soup. That was crazy.
I like the little shot. Maybe it's not intentional. It's just like because of the height difference. But in my head, Grogu's like leaning a little bit to try to look under the mask. Did you get that? I feel like he was trying to look when he was lifting his helmet a little bit. All right, and then they stop on Navarro for repairs, which it turns out is exactly what we predicted at the end of last week's episode. We were talking about how this show even takes a turn back to Navarro. And I think we said that it was probably going to be them saying like, oh, well, I need some repairs before I continue on, so let's just stop here. And that's literally what happened. So, I mean, predictable. Also, I've seen it, so I'm mostly going off of memory. But, it's like, it's a plot point that makes sense. It's just like, okay, yeah, I guess that would, be what you do in the real world.
Yeah.
Sorry,
All right,
I'm
then they get back
Googling
to
something that I want to know about. I'm not ignoring you.
Well, I hope it's not a correction. All right, and then we get back to Navarro. So this is where things get interesting for me. So the town is starting to be turned around, right? We land in Navarro. They kind of walk through the little town center, and there's like a market set up and everything. And we see that the cantina has been renovated into a school, which was really cool. And it's like maybe a 30-second scene, but we got so much content out of that school scene that I absolutely love. Apparently macaroons are just a space food, which is funny because
The French.
I mean, they're like, no, our audience is mostly American. They won't know what a French food is. Just we'll make it that.
Max, I think it's funny you think that it's turned around, and I say gentrification. I feel like the market is the equivalent of a Whole Foods being put into Navarro.
It is gender. Well, yeah, we can say that. I actually have more on that in a minute. We'll get there. Hold on.
Sorry,
They mention the Heidian Way, which I don't know a whole lot about. Luke, maybe you do. I think that's like a extended universe, a lot of lore around the Heidian Way. They also mention Coruscant being the previous capital, and that the current capital is on Chandrilla. And all of this is happening in the background while Grogu's just trying to steal a snack from his classmate. But I really appreciated that line because it is lore accurate based on what we knew at the books at the time. So it was even kind of like a deep pull because everyone always thinks that Hosnian Prime is the New Republic capital, which it is, but that's later. Chandrilla was the original New Republic capital immediately after the events of Return of the Jedi. And so this is, I mean, if they got that wrong, I would have said that's a big thing to get wrong, but them getting it right, I'm saying like it's a little details that I appreciate, but I'm saying it's a little detail in the fact that they didn't need to include that at all. And it feels like they're just going out of their way to tell us that they know. And I appreciate that as a fan of the lore and the bigger story kind of going on.
I agree. Matt, did you catch that line when they talked about Chandrilla?
I did not.
I didn't think you would
Might have been
because
a caption only.
it was very generously included in the subtitles because I was reading it and I was like, is that what she said? I did not hear this at all. Yeah, those were very generous subtitles that I appreciated.
And as you know, I'm not
yeah.
a subtitle watcher, not a dumb guy. Thank you.
Right. You are literate, you just choose not to.
Yeah.
Which is insane to me because I'm deaf. So I literally cannot watch. The few times I get to go to the movies, I'm that person now where I'm turning to the people next to me going, what did they say? What was that? Why are they doing this now? I can't watch anything without subtitles anymore. I guess that just means I should just start reading books, but I'm not doing that. All right,
Subtitles are there for you.
That scene ends with him saying, like, no, Greef Karga was talking to Mandalorian, and he was like, no, Grogu is safe here. Trust me, where we're going is no place for a child. And I just think that's like a funny line to include at that moment because Mandalorian had not agreed to anything. So Mandalorian, from his perspective, he's just like, where are we going? Like your office? Like, what do you want me to do right now? Like, you didn't tell me anything. Like, are we in danger right now? Because then they go into his office and they go over the whole plan and everything like that. But I just think it's so funny. And it draws into question something else that I'll be bringing up later, which is the timing for this episode. Because it makes it seem like this entire episode takes place over a very short amount of time. But they do a lot of repairs to that Razor Crest.
Yeah, they do.
Yes, they do.
I liked Grogu going to school. It's like, does that you can't deny if someone says like, oh, this is a filler episode. Grogu, it's just the one where Grogu goes to school and eats cookies, and it's like, I can't disagree with you on the basis of much reason here, But no, it's not. Like this is what the show is, and this is why I love it. This is good Mandalorian content.
It's also good looking back and why we're doing a rewatch because we know how season 3 ends. So it's like, this is probably what Grogu's doing right now. He's going back to school. He's getting his education. We know that it's there. They have it.
Oh man, I did not think about that. That's so true. He's probably top of the class.
All right. And then I thought this was fascinating, and it was when we get to see Mithril again. So they're going back to Grief Karga's office, and Mithril is there. And he was like, oh, I'm surprised to see you here. And he has that kind of like funny little beat where he just like vents gas from his gills like he's an octopus who's scared. That's hilarious. That's a fun little lore thing. Didn't you include it? Absolutely loved it. And then they start talking about like the background, and Grief Karga was like, yeah, I had him work in my books, and then he stole a bunch of money from me, but I caught him, and now he's agreed to work off all of his debt for the next 300 years or something like that. And as a franchise that already has like a problematic history with slavery within the universe, going into indentured servitude so fast after overthrowing the Empire is a wild thing to me because they get to Navarro and right away they're like, wow, you guys have made great improvements. This is amazing. And the answer is like, thanks, we have slaves. Like the second they got any sort of power, they were like, oh, you know what? We can just make other people do this for us.
Yeah. That's
a good point.
That's a good
but
point.
But fuck Mithril. He's better off as an indentured servant than a free man.
Not fuck Mithril. They kept using him as a beating bag the entire episode. He was the comedic relief, and I'm like, this guy is enslaved to Grief Karga. He's putting his life in danger, and he's like holding this sentence over his head. He's like, hey, I want you to basically risk your life on this mission right now. And he's like, I really don't want to. And he's like, do it, or I'll knock off 50 years off your sentence. And it's like, you're not really giving him much of a choice. At one point, he said that because then he was like, what's the alternative? And he said something about leaving him in the lava flats. I don't know. But he was like, not much of a choice. No, you're right. That's not a choice. This man is a slave right now. And yet we're acting like Grief Karga's the good guy here. This is like if we were rooting for Watto. You know what I mean? It's interesting. I don't know.
I always felt a kinship to Watto. I don't know why.
I rarely root for slave owners, but Grief Karga and Watto would be the two that I would root for.
I mean, I guess maybe Jabba is the only other one that we even know of, but I guess it's definitely a thing.
There's the Zygerians in Clone Wars.
Oh, yeah, the Zygerians. Well, you would definitely not root for the Zygerians.
No, they were bad. They were bad slave owners.
Yeah. They made it very clear.
Yeah. All the white people in history were pretty bad at it, too.
This has nothing to do with anything, but besides, I forgot to tell you guys this. We were trick-or-treating the other day. Well, okay, my son was trick-or-treating. We were out with him. I wasn't, to be clear. And we were standing on the corner, and somebody...
candy, Matthew.
Somebody walked by, and their kid ran into the street, and they yelled, "Hey, Anakin, stop that!" And the kid's name is Anakin.
Nice.
Is that
Did you strike up a conversation?
No, because I don't think I want to be friends with that person. That's insane to name your child Anakin. That's way too crazy, Anakin.
You need to relax. You just have the most white bread name out there in the world, Matt, and you want everyone to be like you, Matt.
But as you, Luke, who has a son named Finn, it's great. Those are great names. But Anakin,
I like Anakin.
I don't know. It's like naming your kid Draco. It's like, oh, Harry's acceptable. Ron's acceptable. Draco, get the fuck out of here. That's so limited.
It's not a name that I would name my kid, but if I found out that someone else had a kid named Anakin, I would definitely talk to them about it.
I met a guy once who named his daughter Amidala. Or it might have been a middle name, Amidala.
Middle names are
Which
fine.
middle names are made
I'd
up
cool
anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Middle names are made up. That's the position that my wife and I took with naming our middle naming our kids. Amidala, that's fun though. Was it for a girl, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's a surname. It didn't need to be, but it would be weird to name a boy, middle name them Amidala.
Yeah.
All right.
But back to Mithril. When we talk about Cad Bane not being dead after the Book of Boba Fett because his prosthetic looks too amazing, this is why. Mithril looked amazing in Season 1, Episode 1, and there was Story-wise, less than no reason to bring him back, but they had the prosthetic, they had the actor, and they were like, yeah, he looks great. Let's write him in. And it feels weird, but he looks great. And that's why we say that about Cad Bane.
They're like, hey,
I think it'll be very similar.
We crunched the numbers, and we're actually losing money unless we put this guy in one more episode. Damn it.
That's really funny and an excellent point because, yeah, there was no story purpose to include this character. I mean, at no point did he even do anything that's like, oh, yeah, that makes sense that he would do it and that the others can't, you know?
Nope.
Like, they literally just included him for comedic effect as the lowly slave.
He was there.
I don't know. It's questionable. I already said I love this episode. I'm not walking it back. I'm just saying. All right. Then we get to the siege, the actual plot here, where we find out that there is one last base on Navarro. And then they attack the Imperial base, and that's pretty much all the notes that I have. So they go to this base. I don't know. I don't really have a whole lot of notes. It was a lot of fun action, a lot of great action sequences. We find out that they're going to flood the base with the lava, which is brutal. And then, a lot of really good action sequences until we find the bodies in tubes. We find out that it's a laboratory. And obviously this is where everything kind of starts to connect to the Dr. Pershing storyline, because then we see a holocom or a hologram, whatever you want to call it, video of Dr. Pershing addressing Moff Gideon, to which Mandalorian says, this has to be old, Moff Gideon is dead. And then they're like, no, this was only 2 days ago. Gasp. Which is so funny going back, because I'm like, yeah, of course he's alive. But I'm like, oh yeah, I guess they do need to reveal that to the characters, that they need to figure this out. But I don't know. I really like that whole beat.
I agree.
Yes, I like the. Go ahead.
There you go.
Oh, I was going to talk about something unrelated.
Oh, I was just going to say, I do, like I said, I love the sneaking around aspect of them breaking into an Imperial hideout, safe, whatever, like building. I think that's one of my favorite things in Star Wars. Like, if I'm having to unpack it, I think that's why when I watch this episode again, when you're in the middle of watching Mandalorian for the first time, right, you're like, this is maybe a filler. Again, which is why I'm so excited to watch Season 3 now, with a significantly different perspective, because I haven't watched Season 3 since it came out, I don't believe. At least not all of it. Watched bits and pieces here and there and whatnot. But I think being able to watch Mandalorian all together and seeing this specific set piece is like, yes, this is part of why I love Star Wars, is just them being able to go on a mission where they're not supposed to be, with the idea of they're presumably going to get caught. And as the audience, they're going to get caught at some point. And it's going to be fun to be able to see how they get out of this situation. And I just had such a blast during that entire time, and seeing all the different troopers and stuff that they face and try to get away from. Nothing new. Just I wanted to hear myself talk about it.
Now I'm thinking through all the people sneaking through scenes in the saga films. And A New Hope obviously has a ton on the Death Star. Empire on Cloud City with Luke. Return of the Jedi has Jabba's palace, and I think that's it.
You can argue Endor.
Yeah, they sneak a little bit in Endor. But in the sequels, they sneak a ton. In The Force Awakens, obviously, the Death Star again, Starkiller Base that time. The Last Jedi, Finn and Rose are sneaking on the Supremacy, and The Rise of Skywalker, they're sneaking on Kylo's ship. But then we get to the prequels, and there's very little sneaking. There is sneaking, and again, I just started thinking about this when Matt started bringing it up, but there's not a sneaking scene, but each movie has a definitive Obi-Wan crouched, sneaking, listening to something scene. With the Trade Federation on Naboo, and then on Geonosis with Dooku, and then on Utapau with the clones. But there's never a full scene. It's just Obi-Wan, and it's just like one shot every time.
Are you saying that doesn't count? That's sneaking.
It's sneaking, but every other movie, it's like an entire scene, and there's a lot more. Or this episode of The Mandalorian. In each of the prequel episodes, it's always just like one shot, and it's always Obi-Wan for some reason.
Yeah, the iconography of the prequel scenes that you're describing don't really like define those films like the other ones that you described.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, it just vaguely qualifies. And maybe it's not as interesting that it's always Obi-Wan every time, but that's blowing my mind. He's Sneak King.
He is.
Did we lose Max? No, we didn't.
Nope. He's just bored.
The notes I had from the sneaking in the siege when they first arrive and Mithril sets up the Chekhov's gun speeder and he's like, "Hey, look at that really nice speeder." And Cara Dune's like, "All right, come on." That made me laugh. There was a few scenes like that where I was worried you guys weren't going to like the episode entirely because of it. A lot of everyone hooting and hollering at the end. Like 3 or 4 different scenes of just the characters applaud.
That's yes, I do know what you're talking about at the very end because they cut to him like 2 times, like very distinctly, and they all start literally whooping and hollering, and it's like, yeah, okay, a little cheesy.
Mithril
Calm down
complains. Mithril complains about the lack of guardrails. Loved that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I didn't even
Star Wars fans have complained about that for a long time. And another part that I didn't like, it felt like Carl Weathers, who directed this episode, was receiving notes and was poorly integrating them when the line was, "Mithril, slice it," or something like that. And then he said, "Oh no, use the code cylinder." Or he said, like, "Mithril, slice it, use the code cylinder." A code cylinder is a key. That's like saying, "Hey, scoundrel, pick the lock, use your key." That's not picking a lock. Like, I feel like he had it in his script that we're going to slice this, and then Dave Filoni was like, "Well, actually, if they had already taken out some Imperials, they could just take his code cylinder and open the door." And he's like, "Oh, okay, so slice this with the code cylinder." It's like, "No, you're close, but we gotta talk about it a little bit more, Carl."
That is funny that he directed this
that's
episode,
really
and this is the first episode he actually does something in too. He's like, I feel like he's like, let me give this a whirl to see what I can do.
You know what I just remembered? This is totally random. Was this the episode that they had to re-edit after it was released because there was like,
Oh, yeah,
a
Gene's
shot of,
guy.
like, half a guy's
Yep.
body? Yeah, that was this episode, right?
Yep,
It
I
was.
just yep. Did you guys ever see the action figure of that? There's somebody online that that he creates custom action figures, and he just created the half of the guy. It's so good.
That's awesome.
With the blue jeans. Like, can you imagine filming that and being like, "No, he's not in the shot. We can edit him out." Like they had to. I'm trying to think of like why they would just even like let him in there still. Like, it's so funny to be like, yeah, he's not in the way. Clearly.
I mean, I don't know anything about filmmaking, and you do, but it's my understanding that there is a guy who's in charge of shooting the shots, and he's like looking through the camera at what's in the frame. How do you miss that? Like, what's the workflow here that you just don't look at that shot or somehow
Did
miss?
you guys catch it when it first came out?
No,
Yeah.
we were watching it
You
together.
did?
Maxwell.
I didn't. I didn't see it until like the next day. People were joking about it, and then I tried to go back to watch it, and by then they had like already edited it. Like they did it in like lightning speed. But I felt hoodwinked. I was like, "What?" And I saw the screenshots of it and everything, and I was like, "Yeah, that is clearly just half a guy wearing a t-shirt, a wristwatch, like blue jeans, like clearly not in the movie at all."
You know why I remember catching it live is because I bought a new TV the week this episode came out, and this is the first thing I watched on my new TV, and I was like, "Oh my god, I wonder what I'm going to catch next time I watch a show.
That's hilarious.
This thing is premium."
The next day, you started watching Game of Thrones, and you saw like 6 Starbucks coffees on the counter, and you're like, "What the?"
How does this keep happening? That was like the same year though, too, wasn't it? Or like a year?
Yeah, they
No.
happened like back to back. I want to say
It was pretty.
No, this
tight.
was 2020, and Game of Thrones ended in 2019, so I guess a year
Yeah.
apart.
Yeah, it was like a couple
was
months
that the last
though.
season
I think.
though, or was that the second to last season?
It was the last season because I watched the last season, so I remember that conversation around it.
So yeah, that was only a year apart. That's pretty crazy. I don't want to keep going down this rabbit hole, but I remember there was like a whole thing of like people were trying to figure out whose coffee it was because they all thought that it was what's her name?
Emilia Clarke.
No. Who's the redhead?
Sophie Turner,
Sophie Turner. Y'all thought it was Sophie Turner.
but she's not in
Or
Star
no,
Wars.
was it in front of Amelia Clark?
Yeah.
thought it was
Turner was in that scene because everyone thought it was Sophie Turner's, and then she had to like come out and say like it wasn't mine, and then like there was like a bunch of internet sleuths trying to figure out who it was or anything. I don't know. Anyway, that's just to say, do we not know who that person was that was in that shot? Because if that was me and I was working on set, I would be telling everybody, like, yeah, I didn't mean to do it, but like I'm definitely in this show.
No, I'm sure that guy knows. I bet he doesn't
sure
want to
he
tell
knows,
everybody
but
as a
does the
professional
public
in
know?
the industry.
You think that's embarrassing for him?
Yeah, it's definitely a blemish on your professional resume.
Was in
I think
shot
that
on
falls
accident.
other people on set more so than him.
I like to think, again, I don't know anything about filmmaking, but I like to think everyone takes a certain amount of personal responsibility to not independently fuck up a shot.
Yeah, he had to be doing something back there to justify.
Because also, yet again, don't know how films are made, but he was just standing there. It's not like it was Boom Guy from A New Hope that I always see a lot of cosplayers of, like holding a boom. Like he was literally just standing there.
Yeah. Looking hot
Are
as
you
hell,
talking about the pink
know?
shorts guy?
Yeah.
That guy was never even in a shot, too. That's
No, he wasn't.
only
That was a
from
behind-the-scenes
photos.
photo. But
I think that's
Classic.
so cool that people cosplay as that guy.
yeah.
Like that is
He is comfortable
like,
too.
awesome.
My point was, like, I know what that guy was doing. He was holding a microphone. I don't know what this guy was doing. And so it seems like he could have been doing it very, very far away.
That's funny. All right. So they continue to attack on the Imperial base. They find the bodies in the tubes, and then they begin their escape. And so this is one of the reasons why I love this episode so much, was because I feel like we got a little taste of everything. So we got this awesome. It's not hand-to-hand combat. I don't know what you would call it. Hallway, corridor, blaster-to-blaster type combat that you see all the time in Star Wars. But then they get in this transport, and they get into this chase, and then these speeder bikes start coming out after them, and then they're pursuing them, and Grief Karga's on the back of the transport, and he's shooting them, and then the TIE fighters come out, and now you got some aerial-to-ground combat, and he's trying to fight back against the TIE fighters, and then the Razor Crest comes in at the last second to finish off the TIE fighters, and then you get some great ship-to-ship combat too. I mean, the action in this episode had everything. Like no matter what your flavor is, it was in it. And I think that's one of the reasons why I loved it so much, was because it was not repetitive. The action was all different, and it did a really good job of climbing.
Yeah,
I also liked the action, but my flavor is lightsaber, and there was not lightsaber.
That's the only one that was missing.
That flavor was not a present. Yeah.
And it's not like I can look back on The
Until next
Mandalorian
week.
and say, well, there's no lightsabers in The Mandalorian, because as of next week, there was, like, every episode.
But I did kind of like laugh, because they talk about how like this is like an Imperial base being run by a skeleton crew, and when they're in there and they're sneaking around, you see all these stormtroopers, but they're in the classic stormtrooper armor, and then as soon as they leave, the speeder bikes come busting out, and it's got the scout troopers on them. And I'm like, A, where were you guys? B, why does everyone who rides a speeder bike have to be a scout trooper? Like, couldn't someone in a stormtrooper costume just have hopped on there and
No.
chased after them? Or do you think they were like,
absolutely
oh, hold on, I gotta
not.
change?
No, it's different
You'd
personnel.
be upset if you saw a stormtrooper riding a speeder bike?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'd be upset if I saw a scout trooper without a speeder bike. Canonically, I think it's not the most effective way to run a military, but in my head, canonically, I think the scout troopers are sitting in the bike room listening to this siege happening and just being like, not my job, not my prob. I don't know what to tell you. And then they get in the speeder and they're like, all right, let's fucking go. And then they get into action. But no,
That's
And
what
then
they're
same thing with the
scouting.
TIE pilots as well, because I thought the same thing then.
Oh, even more with TIE pilots. Yeah, they probably don't even know how to shoot a gun.
Oh, that's ridiculous. You probably work up your ranks. I bet every TIE pilot used to be a scout speeder pilot.
No.
That's different skill.
It is
I
a
feel
different.
like those are very
I'm a good
transferable.
driver. I can't fly a plane.
In the Star Wars RPG, there is a skill for piloting planetary and piloting space. So that's not canon, but there are people out there that would put them into two different skills in a somewhat official capacity, and I agree with it. Also, I'm trying to think canonically. Han Solo went into the TIE Academy, whatever, to be a pilot, and he never had to be a speeder pilot first. Assumedly. I guess we don't know that much. Did you read the Imperial Cadet comics? It'd probably be more clear in that.
I don't recall it.
Final answer. Scout troopers can only be on speeder bikes and nothing else. But I also really liked the action sequence. I didn't love the once the TIE fighters came out, I didn't care. I thought it was more average than not. All of those TIEs had the wings that fold down. That's not specific to Moff Gideon's, like we had talked about a couple weeks ago. So that was noteworthy. But the shot of the speeder bikes coming out of the Imperial base and down that canyon into the lava river is incredible. Like, that was one of the most jaw-dropping shots of the entire show for me. And I don't know if it's just like choreography and action design or just effects, because in the Gunslinger I was complaining about the speeder effects and I thought they looked hokey and bad, and in this one I thought they looked so much better than almost anything else in Star Wars. I was blown away with the speeder bike chase in this.
I think it's just the lighting. I think it's because in Gunslinger, you're just in a hot desert where it's just super bright, whereas in this, you're in a dark canyon, and I think that just goes a long way with...
Yeah.
It could be.
Right before we started recording, we were even joking about how Matt's a little bit grainy right now, and you were like, oh, I'll just darken it in post.
It wasn't that dark. I mean, it was daytime.
If you don't want to.
It's not like Jurassic Park being the dead of night and pouring down rain to cover your effect. It's like it was daytime here.
Right? It works for the story, Luke.
Extent. It does. It works well. I don't know why you're saying, though, that you didn't like the TIE Fighter part as much, though. You just gave it a lot of praise.
The TIE Fighter part I thought was average. I mean, average TIE Fighter scene in Star Wars is much beloved by me, but I really want to emphasize how much I liked the speeder bike chase. I thought that was far above average.
Yeah, and I really liked how they played out everything. I mean, how Greef jumped on the gunner seat. He took out one of the speeder bikes, then the other speeder bike kind of pulled up to the side of it to distract them while the other guy jumped up on top, and then Greef Karga turned that turret around and he just point blank blew up that scout trooper into a million pieces.
Yeah.
That was brutal. I love that. And you just see his helmet rolling.
Yes.
I love that we can imply decapitations in Star Wars so easily with just a helmet.
Well, I was wondering, given the nature of that explosion, if it wasn't just a decapitation, but more of a incineration of the head object, and it sort of just like fell out of it fell out of the helmet, sort of like a goo, and then the helmet just has a higher boiling point than flesh or whatever. But my takeaway from that sequence was, what a hero play from random Scout Trooper number 4 in this scene. That is an incredibly high skill play for just a random guy to be like, that's some Luke Skywalker shit right there. Jumping off of your speeder bike onto another moving speeder and then getting into position to drop a thermal detonator in it. I'm sad to see him go. He was an incredible player.
We need a full backstory on him now. Also, Max, good, great
it cuts,
use of
it cuts
just
to
the
Elia
first name.
Kane.
You just called him Greef
Kane,
earlier.
who's like, oh fuck, he was just about to be promoted. We were just about to make him a TIE pilot.
No, but he is force sensitive as shit. They could have used him for the M count donation.
Bosh.
Oh, that's interesting. I guess surely they would at least test all of their employees and Imperials that they have access to. So I guess canonically he is not force sensitive and he does not have an M count, more so than most other random background characters in this universe.
I don't know. You would think so, but
that
like
is such a good story for like a short story or even like a comic or something like that. Like it's just a random Imperial who like, yeah, they all get tested, and one day this guy is just like, oh hey, Bob, you're gonna have to come with us for a little bit.
And then he gets Nalisade and someone saves him.
Something, yeah. I don't know. There's a story in there somewhere. That's so interesting.
You think that, but have you ever been part of a job who's actually drug tested you, even though they said random drug tests can be administered or whatever? You ever I've never gotten a drug
I have
test
not.
from work. So, I feel like the Empire is going to let that shit slip.
I've had to take drug tests to apply for the jobs. but
Yes.
I've done that
never
as
been
well.
randomly tested during it.
Same. Turns out they don't like people doing heroin.
Who knew?
I can't get
all
rid of the
so then
brown. Sorry, go on.
What?
They keep flying. They come in towards the city, and then the Razor Crest comes in and saves the day. And then this is what I kind of alluded to at the beginning of this episode about the timing of this episode. I mean, they really fixed this Razor Crest up fast. If this took place over the amount of time that we're led to believe,
Grief
which was
Karga
like
says to do it,
maybe
though.
a couple of hours. Oh, and then when we cut to the shot inside of the Razor Crest, you see Mandalorian in there with Grogu, and Grogu is still holding the macaroon wrapper, which is like confirmation to me that it's still like the same day. Like he's still holding the wrapper to his little snacky. So it's like
Yeah,
they just fixed the Razor Crest in record time. I don't know.
I'm
I'm not saying that's a problem to me, but
I have a couple of 1.5-year-olds, and I'm convinced that is the age that they're trying for with Grogu. Around 1.5, where you can do stuff, but you don't really know anything. And yeah, they pound snacks in about 10 seconds. So the Mando got to this child seconds after he started these cookie snacks. That's a good
All right,
example,
and then-
a good time to not show too much, because they could have shown Mando getting back to the town, getting Grogu. They could have made it intense, like, oh, did Moff Gideon get here or not? But at the end of the day, this is just a man picking up his son from school and then getting in his car. And they were right to just hold that for a bigger reveal.
that's funny. All right, and then we get some interviews with Carson Teva. He tries to recruit Cara Dune to the cause. I didn't think it was like bad writing, but I did kind of like laugh a little bit
When
he
he
was
asked if she
like,
lost
I see
anyone
you're
on
from
Alderaan.
Yeah, it's
You
like
can't ask that.
David, read the room.
Yes, she
You know
lost people
anyone
on
on the entire
Alderaan.
planet you were from? Oh yeah.
Yeah,
It's not
I
done in
agree.
polite society.
We've had a lot of canceled projects with that have things set up. Acolyte season 2, Boba Fett season 2, maybe Obi-Wan Kenobi season 2, maybe. Rangers of the New Republic doesn't sting so much, or at least I didn't think it did, because I didn't think I liked Cara Dune so damn much. But then watching it be set up, I'm like, man, I would like a Rangers of the New Republic show, and I'm bummed that we don't have it.
Yeah.
This is the catch-22 that all Star Wars fans find themselves in. Because right now we're in a little bit of a Star Wars drought. Like, we're not getting any new content for a long time until The Mandalorian and Grogu come out. And now we're like, oh man, I could really go for some more Star Wars right now. But then when it does come out, we, meaning ourselves as well, we're part of the problem, go through it with a fine-tooth comb and find stuff to talk about, which usually result in us ripping it apart. Even though I'd still prefer Rangers of the New Republic, even if it wasn't that great. Because you're right. It seems like they had an idea for a while, kind of like, oh, and then we can do this and set this up. Like, even when we first saw Cara Dune, I didn't say this, actually. This was another scene. When we saw her wipe out that, the underground
The Aqualosh
base.
people, yeah.
Is that what they are? I was going to call them the Panda Baba people. That were hanging out in the old Mandalorian coven.
Which, by the
she
way,
gets, like, this little
the forge was
ferret.
still there. They did not remove the oven.
I didn't even think to
Yes.
look for that. There you go. Makes sense.
Yeah, would have been impossible,
But
Luke.
she gets that little animal, that little ferret thing, and she's like, "Oh, no one's eating you today." And when I saw that too, that was another thing where I was like, I bet she was going to have this ferret as like a little sidekick in Rangers of the New Republic.
Oh, wow. That,
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. That's smart.
Especially given the concept art at the end. You guys know what I'm talking about? Did you see that one?
No. Not at the top of my
No,
head.
which one?
It was concept art of the Aqualosh people about to, like, dividing up their loot and getting ready to butcher this ferret-looking thing, and he was breathing fire on their faces. Something got lost in translation there to screen, because we definitely didn't get that, and I'm bummed.
Yeah, no. That's
He's a
interesting.
fire-breathing ferret, as per the concept art, which is not canon, but that there's something there for Rangers of the New Republic as well.
Yeah, we gotta save this. Is simply too good to waste it on this episode. Little do they know it'll never happen.
I can't believe I totally forgot about that scene. Because I was also wondering, I was looking to see if any of those characters only had one arm. Because I was like, I want to put it past them to include Panda Baba in this scene. But they didn't. At least not that I noticed.
That's funny. Oh, that would raise so many problems. Thank God.
I don't think
Can't have
that would
another
raise any
Kiadi
problems.
Mundi.
I think that
situation.
could technically be canonical. It would just be a weird...
It could. It would be
thing
exactly like
included.
Kiadi Mundi. Matt, you're spot on. It wouldn't raise problems, but it would raise problems.
All right, and then we get the final shot of Elia Kane reporting to the revealed Moff Gideon standing before his dark troopers, and we find out that they planted a tracker on his ship, which makes sense. But looking back, it's just funny that the only reason they got there was because the Mandalorian came back randomly just to get repairs to his ship. You know, it's not like they ever lured him back in. They were just playing the long con. They were just like, no, he'll come back eventually. Just be patient.
Moff Gideon's looking at his notes. These are his only friends? Okay, yeah, let's work this angle.
Yeah, basically.
I say I'm pretty busy with this other stuff.
But I really liked that little part there at the end.
Yeah, I really liked it in the beginning when red bug-eyed guy, the Mimbanese alien, we don't see many of those, and I really liked that alien design. And I saw him, and I was like, oh, yeah. And then at the end, he's a bad guy. And I was like, oh, no! That was a roller coaster for, I feel like, exclusively me, because I was really excited and then really bummed to see that he was the guy.
Guys, this isn't really a force for thought per se in comparison to how craftfully well you guys do it. But I was in physical therapy today because I'm an old man, I have a bad neck. And I was talking to my physical therapist, and we were talking about kyber crystals and annoying everyone else around us who did not understand anything about Star Wars. And my physical therapist, Rocco, mentioned that he's like, oh, do you know the purple saber means you dip into the light and the dark side? And I was like, I don't necessarily think that's true. I don't know where he got this from, but I wanted to come to you guys to see if you what you think about that, because at first I was like, well, there's no way, because Mace Windu was on the High Council. I don't think they would let somebody on the High Council if they dipped into the light and dark side, and also if you bleed a crystal, it's not going to be purple. But then Luke, you messaged and said that besides Mace Windu, also Vanestra Rowe also has the purple saber, obviously the purple whip saber, and you said probably not canon, but I guess you're an asshole, is Luke's text back to me when I messaged this. Which got me thinking.
Who'd you say? Vernestra Rowe and someone else.
Yeah, Ty Yorick, Vernestra
Ty
Rowe,
Yorick.
and Mace Windu are the three I could think of off the top of my head. Ty Yorick and Mace Windu are assholes, and Vernestra Rowe apparently grows into one by the time of the Acolyte. She was very nice in the High Republic, but she's
Yes.
a dick in the Acolyte.
But then that got me thinking, too, is that maybe he is onto something just for the fact that the three people you named are all dicks. And I don't understand why. And I just wanted to see what you guys thought of this, where that's not how I conflate that, right? We all know the backstory of Mace Windu's saber, right? Sam Jackson wanted the purple saber, yada, yada. And now it's very sparsely used. And I don't necessarily, I don't think that's not going to be like I assume not like a Legends thing, but I just, I think you can, I don't know. I think there's, people conflate Kyber into different roles. Like if the Google AI oversearch, because I was like, Rocco, I don't think this is true. And he did a Google AI oversearch, which also was just false, because it was like, oh, green is like Jedi High Council and thinking and everything. Well, I was like, well, that's not really true, because Kit Fisto has a green saber, and that's not the way Kit Fisto rolls necessarily. So anyway, I want to see what you all thought about this purple lightsaber dilemma, which I don't know. I still don't think it's true, but still.
There's a couple different things about it, which is that, one, in the extended universe, the color of the lightsaber was, at some point it did mean something more. Like it did represent something more than what it does in the current canon, which is just the color of the kyber crystal. However, we know in the current canon that the Jedi find their kyber crystal by going to Elam or one of these other places, and the kyber crystal calls out to them. So there is like a special connection with the kyber. So maybe there is something with like the purple lightsaber or the purple kyber calling out to a certain type of person, because I don't think it necessarily means that like you can tap into the dark side and the light side. However, and I don't know if this is currently canon, but there's all sorts of lore around Mace Windu and his fighting style, in that he does like tap in. Basically, I can't think of a better way of phrasing it other than what you just said. But like, yeah, he kind of like taps into the dark side a little bit when he fights, and that's why he has like a much more aggressive fighting style than the other Jedi. That's like a very commonly described attribute of Mace Windu, but I don't know if that was ever actually confirmed in the current canon. And I literally just read The Glass Abyss, which is a Mace Windu solo book, and I'm trying to rack my brain as far as what it said in there, and I don't really recall anything off the top of my head. It was a very, at best, average Star Wars book, though, so there's kind of a lot of stuff that I don't remember too well in it. So I don't know if that's still canon or not. But it sounds like what he's referring to with like, oh, green means wisdom and all this other stuff. I think that's just all extended universe stuff that he's thinking about. It's not technically canon. I was trying to filibuster a little bit because it looked like Luke was trying to look something up, and I was hoping he would.
I'm not finding anything other than what I already knew, and it seems to be the same thing as what you know. Yeah, as for what your physical therapist was saying, it's a extended universe thing that Mace Windu, it's called Vapad, was his lightsaber form, and I don't know, because the lightsaber colors meaning something in Legends, I think is well and done, and that doesn't mean anything in canon, because it never really made sense to me, especially because your kyber crystal calls out to you, and so if you get a purple one, it's like, hey, the fuck you doing with the dark side? Like, it's a big tell.
Yeah, a little bit.
But there's also 7 different lightsaber fighting forms that were introduced in Legends and not decanonized because you can't, because all like it just makes sense. Like I don't know all of them off the top of my head. Makashi, I know
a couple of them in Ahsoka when he's training Sabine, but I don't remember the names.
Yes, he does. So they are canonized then, because it's the way that the people are fighting in the movies before it was a thing. Like, you can tell that Obi-Wan has a different lightsaber fighting style than Darth Maul and several other people, up to 7, I guess. And Mace Windu's Form 7 Vapad taps into the light side and the dark side of the Force. And there's a lot of really cool stories that I have read some of them where he talks about it, and it's makes Mace Windu an interesting character, for one, which is sorely lacking from the movies and most stories with Mace Windu. Because he like refuses to teach it to anyone else because it's so risky to tap into the dark side, and he doesn't want anyone else to risk falling to the dark side, but he can do it because he's a self-entitled prick, but yada yada. My official answer on lightsaber colors is that they do not indicate anything about you. Is my official take, other than red being evil.
Yeah, and I will also give a quick plug for this video because I'm not going to be able to repeat it well enough. But there was an interview that Sam Witwer did, who obviously voiced Maul in Clone Wars and Rebels, where he talks about the different fighting forms, and part of the impact of Maul's death scene when he fights Obi-Wan is Obi-Wan is seen using 3 different forms throughout the movies, and when he goes to fight Maul, he kind of like takes 3 different stances before they attack, and that was like his like progression through the years, because he like the iconic one is where he like holds the lightsaber back like by his head, and he sticks his hand out in front of him with like 2 fingers out. But then he like switches to a more defensive stance, which is like the same stance that he then takes in A New Hope when he fights Vader too. So it's like he goes through like the visual storytelling of those stances,
and the Qui-Gon one,
fighting styles and everything. Yeah, that's right. He starts with Qui-Gon's, I think.
He ends with Qui-Gon's.
Look up the video. Is that what it is?
Yeah, he starts with the Luke Skywalker with the lightsaber, 2 hands out in front of you, and then he goes to the 1 hand back, 2 fingers out in front of you, the Obi-Wan, and then he ends with the Qui-Gon like a baseball bat at the lightsaber at your side.
That's right, and that was the full circle because Darth Maul and Qui-Gon, obviously. Okay, yeah. Still look up that interview with Sam Witwer though when he's describing it because it's really cool, and I love hearing Sam Witwer talk about Star Wars.
That is beautiful. Can you imagine if you had that Obi-Wan stand so and had Tourette's? Just fucking get yourself instantly. And then also, for those who are wondering, Max was filibustering. This was DC style. He filibustered for 17 and a half hours. He did not go to the bathroom or anything. We had to edit this episode down. I'm very tired.
All right, well, for those of you who listen to our condensed version, let us know what you think, and feel free to reach out to us. You can reach out to us on social media at Force for Thought, and you can email us at forceforthought@gmail.com.
See you, Sammy.